back for another episode of the HotLap Production Podcast. I am your host, Isaiah Reyes.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing? Ventura here.
And this week we actually have a guest on with us, fellow colleague, friend of ours, Nate. He's joining us for the first time.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Good to meet you.
Well, this week we got some news going on. Quite a lot of news, actually. We have the new release of the GMC Hummer EV that we're supposed to have by next summer.
So I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah, I am too. I had no idea it was coming out, but the more I've looked into the car, the more I've actually gotten kind of excited about it. And I've never been like the person to be excited about a full electric vehicle in the past couple of years that they've been coming out. But something about this one is really, really cool. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think like the week before I saw Rick Rossi came out with he had his old Humvee, but it had Louis V custom wrap seats in it. And then after that I was like, something's going on with Hummer. And then the week later I find out the fully electric 1,000 horsepower Hummer is coming out.
11,500 pounds-feet of torque.
Oh, that's not where I thought. Did you all see how much it's gonna cost?
How much is it?
$100,000.
I'm not
That full launch one with like everything you could possibly have it was like $113,000 or something like that.
Well, I mean, you know, it's in the right price range for things. It's like G-Wagon money.
Right. It makes sense. But I was watching a couple of different videos of how much of a capable off-roader it's gonna be, and I was thoroughly impressed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not much of an off-roader myself, but the technology it had with I don't know if y'all saw it's able to crab walk.
Yeah.
Because it has four-wheel steering and stuff like that. It's pretty dope. Like, the more I kept watching, I was like, this is impressive.
Well, I mean, even on the
commercial was great.
Yeah, like on the GMC website when I was looking it up earlier, like it literally has a video of the thing jumping, like hard jump. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big SUV to be doing that, but okay.
Right. It's interesting too. I think this is the first like full electric vehicle or not even full electric, just really the first time in a while where we've had a full vehicle nameplate come back and it actually feel good, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because like the Eclipse Cross, that's all the way BS. You know what I mean? So like you get examples like that, and then you get the Hummer where it looks like a Hummer, or it looks like a new Hummer. Yeah. But even though it's maybe DNA roots isn't exactly the same, but it still feels right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's weird. It's weird how
I think the roots are right where they need to be. I think the roots are right where they need to be because
I guess that's
whenever the Hummer first came out, like they were targeted towards the rich group. Yeah. So the same thing, why is it so expensive? It was pretty much the same thing back then. We just didn't have the technology. So it's kind of following its same roots, being targeted towards.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, because I mean, well, the H1 was just like, hey, we're selling it because we know that you want it because you've seen it on like military commercials. Like, hey, here's the H1, it's $90,000. Here, take it. You know what I'm saying? Right. But then the H2 was just like, hey, come get your alternative Escalade that does 6 miles to the gallon. So it's just, you know. Yeah. But I mean, the new design of the EV, I mean, you can see pretty much all of the generations of the Hummer like kind of just crammed into one. Mm-hmm. So I like the way they did it. It's blended very, very well.
Yeah, what was it, 0 to 60 time? It was like 3 seconds.
3 seconds,
yeah,
bro.
It's 3 seconds.
I'll get gapped. I'm gonna get gapped by a Hummer off the line that weighs 3 times as much as me, probably, bro. Like, stupid.
I'm just thinking about like the powertrain management. If it has 11,000 foot-pounds of torque, like how does that traction control work on the launch control that you don't just like literally burn out?
It lowers it. So I don't know if you watched that full video from Engineering Explained. Mm-hmm. When you put it, it's a specific mode that you have to put it in to get that 0 to 60 time. It lowers the car in general, but it lowers one more than the other for when it kicks back. I think it lowers the front. And then it does something else with the suspension. And so it only has 3 electric motors. So it has 1 in the front and 2 in the rear. The 1 in the front is just managing the torque and the tire slippage, while the back 2 are putting a lot more of the power down, if I remember correctly. So there's a lot of technology that is going into this car outside of just like the 0 to 60 for the off-road management, everything. There's way too much technology, but it's dope.
I'm ready to see one of these in Baja.
Guys, this is coming out of GM's like powerhouse. I'm shook. Like, when do we ever see things like this coming out of GM?
Right. That's why. Yeah, that was That's what I'm saying, man. Just when I saw it, I just randomly on my Twitter feed, it's just like the new Hummer EV, and I was like, what? And I looked and I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. And then I saw the videos, and I was like, this is actually pretty legit. Like
Yeah.
this.
I bet Elon has to be really mad right now.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know he was going to Tesla truck though, but then.
Yeah, and everybody's like, well, you know, the Tesla's going to be way cheaper. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the Cybertruck's going to be 60 grand, but do you really want to be seen in that or a Hummer? Like, I get it.
Funny.
But
Is that the actual model, or was that a prototype for the Tesla?
I'm not
I think it was a prototype.
Yeah, I
so
think
I'm pretty sure it'll be something close to that.
Okay. I just think it's funny, like, because that was within the last year that they showed off that prototype, and within the year, Hummer was probably at that time. Hummer was like, or GMC was probably like, "Oh, just wait till we see what we got for y'all," because they already knew it was coming.
Right. It's just like, well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, but overall, I was actually I didn't think I would be happy seeing an electric Hummer, but they did a good job with it. I can't lie.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, everybody's kind of disappointed with the fact that they brought the Blazer back the way they did. Supposedly they brought the Blazer back like that because they're supposed to do like an SS model with a V8 and blah, 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 blah. Like they're supposedly bringing that back. Well, you know, the Blazer before that was the big K5 huge thing. You know what I'm saying? It's that big box that was just roaring. So everybody's like, okay, why didn't you bring that back since Ford's bringing back the Bronco? But I think GM was like, well, we did this because we're doing this with the Hummer. You know what I'm saying? We're getting a big fast off-roader with the Hummer. We're not worried about the Bronco coming out. So I think I'm actually really impressed with the fact that they're doing that rather than trying to compete again with Ford on that level. So we'll see.
I think GM is going to be ahead of Ford in the whole electric car movement. I think that's what they're trying to do instead of putting their force towards like a Bronco or a Blazer that would be fully gas powered. They're already looking towards the future. And looking towards more electric car, which will be up by 2035. Probably banning manufacturing of gasoline cars.
I think that was in California.
That's in California.
California. In California, it's 2035. No more manufactured gasoline cars.
Which makes sense coming out of California. But you're pretty right on that though, Nate. Because I don't know if y'all saw like a month or two ago, Honda and GM announced they were going to come together for the development of electric and hybrid vehicles or something like that.
Yeah, I mean the fully electric, like the EV cars that Chevy actually has out right now are really good. The Bolt and the Volt, they're really good electric cars. I mean they have really good range. They drive really well. So I mean, and they're fairly cheap.
They've been making them for a while too.
Yeah, so I mean they're pretty. Settled into the electric EV world. So I think GM already has the jump on Ford, but we'll see.
I've been hesitant about the whole going into full electric, but the Hummer is kind of, I don't want to say opening my eyes, but it's definitely, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt now to see that you can still get a lot out of a vehicle with it being full electric like that. So
I give Ken Block all the for that. I think Ken Block for that. He was showing off the Mach-E.
Oh yeah, the 1400 or whatever they built. Yeah.
I was like, we can do that with electric cars. I'm excited.
That's fair. I mean, you miss the noise, but if I can still have some fun, then I guess whatever.
Yeah, that instant power is something else. Like when you punch it and it's like
it's just there.
Yeah, it's instant. You don't really have time to prepare for it or even like breathe. It's just like, boom, we're there. Next on our news topics, we've got the new Honda Ridgeline is getting a facelift to look more Trekkie.
Finally. The Honda Ridgeline is finally getting a facelift over so many years of Honda Ridgeline fans, and they have their own group of fans. Thinking it looks too much like a minivan. Yeah, so I have extremely mixed emotions about the Honda Ridgeline. As far as like the technology that it has, I love it. Like especially from the cargo area or the hatch area or the tailgate area.
Oh yeah.
The area with the cooler and stuff was awesome. Everything else I can't stand it. But the powertrain is it's okay. Wish it was a little more off-roady. Honda tries to call it rugged, but it's really not.
No.
And we all know it. It's based off a minivan.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When it
sorry.
shares the same platform as your mid-size SUV and your minivan, it's not.
It's not a truck.
Not at all. Just because it's raised up an inch or two doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I mean it has a bed, but yeah, no.
But the 2021 model does look respectable, and those HFP wheels.
Yeah,
those are some pretty cool wheels. I won't lie, those are pretty cool wheels. They got the cool little tailgate stripe coming down, make it look a little more trucky on there, pulling things from like the Raptor and the Tacoma or the TRD, and how they goes. And then other than that, it's the same old Ridgeline.
The same old Ridgeline. I understand the Ridgeline's place in the mid-sized truck market when someone they just need the tailgate for putting stuff in and out, but don't necessarily need the rest of what a truck offers. That the Ridgeline is that vehicle because it's gonna ride like I said, a mid-sized SUV. But that's what I would tell people when I was selling Toyotas and they were trying to compare the Tacoma to the Ridgeline. I'm like, look, come on. What are we using the truck for at that point? Like, are you wanting just a truck for the sake of saying you drive a truck, or are you actually going to be using it to go off road? Because that's really going to determine whether you actually need a Tacoma or not.
So I wish Honda did things like Toyota and Ford as they actually gave trim packages or actually motor upgrades. Honda doesn't offer any motor upgrades. They have trim levels, the RTL, the RTE, and the Black Edition. But they're only trim levels on there. There's only appearance packages. There's no upgraded suspension. It's nothing like that. But I was reading, I think it was on Car and Driver, that someone called the Ridgeline the Swiss Army knife of the trucking world. And it's true. It's perfect for tailgating. It has off-roading capabilities on it. It can kind of do what it needs to do. Don't really expect too much out of it, and it drives good because it drives like a car.
Yeah, so, I mean it's literally the all-arounder. It's not
if you're
perfect at anything, but it does everything.
That's pretty cool. But personally, I'd probably still swing with a Tacoma or the Colorado. I really like the Colorado, the ZR2 version. Every other one, so yeah. But those two I'll probably go with it as far as the mid-size trucks section goes.
Yeah, and don't forget we're getting the Ranger Raptor here soon, so that's going to be a really good competitor there with the 2.7 EcoBoost, and I mean they're just going to Raptor it out. So
when we went to Barrett last year, I always forget about the dang Ranger. I was actually pretty impressed when we took that test drive in it.
Oh yeah.
I was pretty impressed because I sold Toyota, so I've always been biased towards the Tacoma. And something I don't know what it is about the Colorado. Something with the interior. I think this is Chevy's interiors in general, though. For whatever reason,
plasticky.
Never sit right with. Yeah, it didn't sit right with me. But that Ranger it's pretty legit. So there's definitely a tough market in the mid-size truck that I don't think Honda is ever going to win. They're never going to be the top dog on top until they do something serious about the truck. But at the end of the day, there's definitely a market for the Ridgeline in the mid-size truck market for sure. They did do a good job with the new look, the facelift, though. I will say that
they did a good job with it.
It looks really nice.
But can we come to the conclusion? Is a Ridgeline actually a truck?
No.
So yes, that's answered.
Technically, yes.
Yes, I think we can call it a truck now because of the wheels.
Just because of the wheels. I put 33s on my Ridgeline. So it's cool. A truck.
Like keep those same wheels, linear tires, they're good. You got the little decal in the back.
I put BBSs on my base model Ford Focus. It's a race car now.
Exactly. That's basically what Nate is saying. The wheels make it a truck.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's a truck. It has its place, but I don't know if your truck is base configuration is front wheel drive. I don't think it's not.
No, they have all-wheel drive version,
but it's not a rear-wheel drive.
You can have a front-wheel drive model though. That's the issue. It's not two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive meaning rear-wheel drive. It's two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive.
Right. And is it even a true full? It's not a full four-wheel drive. It's just has a rear diff. No, there's no transfer case or four.
No, I think it's a house.
Four low, four high.
No, there's a transfer case.
Is it? Oh, okay. Let's say
there's a transfer case on. Honda's always been fairly good with their all-wheel drive systems. Like even from the older CRVs, they've been okay with them.
Well, I mean,
they've
they're the
been
ones who
reliable.
invented the super handling all-wheel drive that's on the Acuras, and that's
there you go.
That's a serious all-wheel drive system.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I think if they were to ever beef up the Ridgeline all-wheel drive system, they could really do some serious damage, which they usually do in their Baja or whatever racing they do, in trucking.
Yeah,
if you've ever seen them, they look pretty good.
It's just, it's not a truck. I can't call it a truck. I just can't. Yeah. Honda, just build a body on frame, but just body on frame chassis. I think that's the big part of it too. Is the just build a body on frame chassis. You know you can do it. You have the engineers. It's not that hard. Just
they'll never do it.
They're not going to do it. But it'd be worth a try. Next up is the fact that Ford is actually dropping the PP2 Mustang in lieu of the new Mach 1 that is coming out. It does not shock me nor surprise me because basically the PP2 is going to be a rebadged Mustang in the Mach 1 with some extras. So
yeah, well, it makes sense though, because that's at that point it's just too much competition within the model itself, model being the Mustang, because you figure the Mach 1, as much as I think the internet hates calling it this, it's a bullet with a different aesthetic. The non-handling package Mach 1 is a bullet, is my understanding as far as I think just the switch of the transmission with getting the Tremec instead.
This is the same thing that we did 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? In the fact that we did that with the 0304 Bullet and Mach 1 cars then. Only difference between those two is the fact that the Mach 1 got the
shaker hood.
The shaker hood that was functional. Outside of that, they're basically the same car. So, I mean, I wouldn't see why Ford wouldn't do it again. I mean, if you go back to the 60s and 70s, they were doing the same thing then too. I mean, you had several different trims. You got the GT, the GTCS, you had the Mach 1, the Boss 302, the Boss 429. You had, the Shelby GT500, the GT500 KR. I mean, you could go on and on and on of the list of Mustangs you can get. So I don't see why they killed off the PP2. I mean, if they would have bumped the power a little bit or just made the engine a little bit more unique or something like that, then you could fit the Mach 1 there. But I don't know, maybe it's just more marketing that.
well, the Mach 1 is pretty much a PP2 with like a couple bolt-ons on it. Yeah. So they say it's the faster, less track capable PP2 because it comes with the GT350s, the Tremec, the 6-speed, and the intake manifold. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty much PP2 with those on it. So it's less track capable, but it's quicker, and it's also about $7,000 more.
Yeah.
So. The Mach 1 with the handling package, though, I'd be down to get that one. Those wheels are kind of fresh, and then all the suspension work that he gets on top of that too, I'd be down.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the Boss 302 of the S550 chassis.
Yeah, I saw someone, I forgot what channel it was, that was basically saying the same thing about the Mach 1. Is that exactly is more of a Boss 302 than anything.
Yeah, because I mean, back in the S197 days, the 1314 Boss 302 was just a monstrosity of a car, and it really didn't even have much difference other than the intake on that compared to a normal GT performance pack. So it makes sense. I see it, but in my eyes, I don't see. I feel like they could have made room for all of them because I mean. Again, to me, they could really make, since they don't have any other cars, they could take the trim line of the Mustang and just kind of run with it.
What they could have done too, if they were really adamant about eliminating the performance pack too, because I feel like between the performance pack 1 now, between that and the base Mach 1, it's kind of a big jump in both price and performance.
Yeah.
They could have, if they're going to eliminate the PP1 or the PP2, they can make Magna Ride and not touch anything else, just make Magna Ride standard in the performance pack 1, but leave the wheels the same wheel width, tire width, the whole 9, and that'll kind of bridge that gap a little bit more. So you still get the same handling you're going to get from that point on, but now you're paying for wheels, tires, performance upgrades the higher you go.
Yeah, I mean? It's turning into Porsche with the GT models.
Right.
We're going to pay more money and you're going to get less car.
Right. But I'm excited to see. Like I said, I would possibly mess around and buy a handling package Mach 1. I don't know. It's something about that gray too. What's that? What's that Great Fighter Jet Gray or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
That's pretty sexy.
Yeah, that great.
with the orange highlights and stuff going around the emblems and all that. It's pretty fire. I ain't gonna front.
No, my hope is definitely that with the Mach 1 coming out and the PP2 going away and the fact that the GT350 is going away, that this is going to make the GT350 cheaper.
True.
On the used market. So, we can stop looking at 40, 50 grand used ones.
So dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but God, I hate it because I want one so bad.
No. It's such a good car. I mean, but you got to think about it too. I mean, I think the GT350 might end up like one of the Mustangs, like the Terminator was, where the Terminator is 20 years old now and it's still 20 grand. And you're buying one with 120,000 miles on it and a little wear, and you're still paying 20 grand just to get into it.
Right.
So the GT350 might fall under that category of just one of the Halo Mustangs that's just not gonna get cheap, unfortunately.
Terminator's been the only Mustang that I've actually liked. The S550s they're pretty cool. I've seen them modded to the right to where I've looked like, oh, I'll probably get one. Like Ventura's is pretty cool. I don't know if I actually buy one, but it's not my
to me. Ford is finally getting into their stride with the S550 chassis.
Yeah.
So I hope they don't kill it off soon, because they're finally getting their suspension tuning down, to the T, where it's not as frisky as it was when they first came out with it. Because driving a 16 compared to driving Venturas, even though neither one of them were Magna-Ride cars, I mean, the chassis you can tell that they've tuned it a lot better over the years, because the 16 was just squirrely all the time. I mean, it made it hard to put power in it, because it's like, okay, I'm going to upgrade the power and all this, but can the rear end handle it? Like, am I going to slide going from second to third just because I blipped the throttle too hard? But driving Venturas, I mean, the 19, just in those couple of years, it's a lot tighter.
I'll have to drive Venturas one of these days, if he ever lets me.
I would.
When he's not doing donuts everywhere.
Well, we'll take
you saw that?
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, I sent it to you. Yeah, you're right.
Nah. Hey, side note, real quick. So I'm driving home from church today, right? Mm-hmm. And we're just chilling on the 30. Rolling, and I'm passing a 2020 Ultima, and I'm passing it, and I'm like, oh my God, her hood's open. Like, I'm gonna let this lady know her hood's open. So I'm getting ready to wave her down. Her hood wasn't open. It was just that bad of a panel gap between the hood and the fender that you couldn't see it.
Oh jeez.
I was like, Nissan, is this what we've come to? Like, this was an inch and a half of a panel gap. I'm like, bro. Either the car's been wrecked,
already got into an accident. Terrible. Yeah.
I think they've taken the whole floating roof thing into full effect. You know how their rear tails is called a floating roof?
Yes. Yeah.
It follows through to the front end.
Like, no, they was designed to do
floating panels everywhere.
These panels are never attached.
Bro, I'm glad I didn't flag her down, because she's been looking at me like I'm crazy. She's like, what do you mean my hood's open? Never mind. You're just driving an Ultima. It's okay. All right, guys. Well, getting into this week's topic, we've got pretty much just one. It's really a question. So, guys, money, no object. What car would you splurge on, and why?
Nate, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I actually put a lot of thought into mine for whatever reason. I didn't want to go super car and spend all the money in the world and something like that. I wanted something that kind of meant a lot to me or whatever. So what I'm choosing is the E46 BMW M3 GTR, the same model that's probably most famous for the most winning game.
Yeah.
On there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was one of my first racing games playing, other than Underground 2. But on that car, I thought I could do everything. I think it was one of those cars you can just free roam with, and I was like, that was the boss of the world. And I've always wanted to build one. It's like they're pretty cool on there. So kind of looked into it. People build them all the time. They're not really super rare or anything like that. But you're probably looking about $230,000 to get full spec wide. They do come with about 490-ish horsepower, 493 horsepower if they're built correctly, stuff like that. So yeah, most wanted BMW.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I played the living daylights out of that game, bro. So I get that completely.
Drift happy. They're easy to control. Great cars.
That childhood dream right there.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I give just a little side note on that on the Most Wanted game. That's when I didn't really know much about cars, but for me, like in the last levels to try to beat the game, the Supra was my main car. But at the time, I didn't know what the Supra was. I just was like, hey, this car can go pretty fast. I've built it pretty well. Let's roll with it. And I remember like years later, like I was still like learning cars. I asked Isaiah, I was like, bro, can the Supra really go this fast? And he just kind of looked at me like, are you stupid? It was like our sophomore year in high school. We had like barely became friends. Yeah. I didn't know. I was like, okay. And then knowing what I know now, I was like, yeah, it absolutely freaking can go that fast. So yeah, that game, man, that game was actually
great.
I couldn't beat it. I couldn't beat it as a kid. I had to beat it as a grown adult, like because the last couple things were so hard.
Yeah, man, you gotta have that perseverance to do those pursuits and stuff, man. I'm just like, I can't do this.
So I think the last milestone for the pursuit was like you have to be in a pursuit for like 23 minutes and then get away.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, like at that point, you got
crazy.
the chopper and the vet cop cars that you can't knock over quick enough, and it's just nuts.
Yeah, at that point, you just kind of give up. Like, yeah, I'll play at this point.
You're right. When I got some more time, I'll think about playing this again.
Right.
But yeah, so that game was a good game. Anyways, I'll so my splurge car probably changes like once every 2 weeks. I ain't gonna front. Like the thought in my head of like, oh, if money wasn't an object, what would I buy and build right now? And where I'm at now, and you're just catching me on my typical car guy stuff this week. But I've just been seeing so many clean builds online and on TikTok of GTRs, Skyline. I've seen a lot, bro, and even Hugh showed me one the other day, an R32 that was built just, and so it would be, I couldn't tell you which one as of right now, but it would be one of those three, either the 30, it's probably more the 32 or the 34, and I would just build it. I wouldn't build like just stupid horsepower build, but just a nice clean look. I don't know, 800-900 horsepower, keep it there, and just roll with it. You know what I mean? It was nice, lowered. Not necessarily stance, but just a nice look, clean wheels, clean paint job, and just roll with it is where I'm at right now. Like I would kill for something like that right now. Ask me again in 2 weeks, we'll see what it is then. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I just seen so many of them, and the RB just makes a beautiful noise with the right blow off and stuff too, and you're like melts me every time.
I know. I had so many plans to RB swap my Ranger in high school. It was insane. Like I found the K member in everything.
I think the perfect splurge build would be like a solid daily that you can just spend money on quality parts that wouldn't break, that you can just beat the fuck up daily.
This is true.
Like on a daily basis, you just know it's fine. It's okay. All right.
There was a side note car that I would do that with too. It'd be as of recently 240 ZX. Am I saying that right? 240 ZX, one of the old Nissan Roadsters. 240 SX.
Not the SX.
Well, so there's like, which one are you talking about? Because the 240Z is the 60s first Fairlady Z car.
Yes,
right?
that one.
Okay.
Yeah, the Datsun.
Yeah, the Datsun. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so there's just one guy that I found on TikTok that just has the most immaculate build. I think I sent it to you, Isaiah, where he has like the halo headlights on the fronts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is stupid clean. Like literally, once I saw his, that's when I was like, dang, I'd build one of those.
Yeah, old Nissans are great. My thing is, if I had to go GTR, it'd be, for me, it's kind of a hard tie between the 2000 GTR from '79, just because that one's like super mechanical and it's carbureted straight six and all that kind of stuff. So that one's really cool. But for me, it's that and the R32. The R32 is just it's that perfect blend of technology and old school that just it's great. So I can see why you're going there. Plus, what you're talking about, you're probably looking like a solid 90 G's all the way in.
Right.
Car and all.
It's not stupid crazy, but it is a lot.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to think how much of a price gap it is between like R32, R33 GTRs and Supras. Like you're paying a hefty arm for a Supra a Mark IV Supra, but for GTRs you can get one for like 28 to 35 grand.
Yeah.
In any of those specs,
not including shipping. Yeah, you're right.
Well, no, I mean I'm talking the ones that are already shipped here. So like there's certain import shops that you can buy from, and they've already imported them and already registered them in the States. So you're buying the title.
Oh.
Yeah. I believe Japanese Classics is one of them, and they import some nice stuff. Their GTRs go pretty quick, but like all the other stuff, like I'm trying to think, they have some really nice MR2 turbos and FC RX7s that come through. They have what's the little Honda Beat, the little Roadster K car. Yeah. They have those that come through. The Mazda AZ1, which is another K car. But I mean, they have like a really solid inventory. I mean, all the way up to like vans. Like you can get like turbo diesel 4-cylinder Toyota vans. So I mean, like for the money you pay,
there's hella diesels everywhere. That's not the U.S.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, these are everywhere else.
I always forget that.
I'd love to have a diesel daily driver. My choice. I can't really be like. I can't say I'm like Nate and be like, I'm not going to get a supercar, because it's not really a supercar. It was a supercar in its day. I'll put it that way. Today it'd be considered like a very nice sports car. But me, since I was a kid, I've lusted after a 993 911 turbo, so like a 95 to 97 911, but the wide body turbo version before you get into the GT2 model. That car right there, solid like 10 for me every day of the week. But right now they're like six figures because they're the last turbo air-cooled Porsches.
Are those the RWB models that they?
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them are raw wheel built.
Yeah. So I mean, they're super quick. They make 400 horsepower, which 95. That's kind of a lot. So it's just one of those cars that like. It kind of ties into Nate too, where it's it was in a video game when I was a kid, which was the very, very like one of the first Need for Speeds, Hot Pursuit, like the super pixelated one that you really couldn't see stuff in. But it was that game, and that was always the car that I drove, was the Porsche 911 Turbo. So I like have a super high respect for that car just because it's one of the last like super mechanical Porsches that was around, and like it's just there's no mechanical nanny. I mean, well, like electronic nannies like traction control and things like that. I mean, it's just a raw car that goes really fast because it weighs nothing. So that was my choice. There is a midnight blue that car comes in that is just stunning. So that car in the midnight blue in my garage, no questions asked.
That reminds me of the like another car I was thinking about when I was thinking about the most wanted one. It was the black Porsche that you get. It had flames in the front of it. It was all black. I believe it was a 911 Turbo S.
Was it?
That was one of the boss's cars, no?
Yeah, it was one of the boss's cars. You won it when you beat him.
Yeah.
That was also one of my favorite cars on there. That's what it reminds me of. I think it definitely wasn't a 96 or whatever. It was one of the newer models, but.
Oh yeah, it was a 911 GT2 actually.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually a really fire car too.
Kind of right.
I have a Porsche fetish, and I'm not ashamed to say it.
You do.
I really do. Like. I tell Grace all the time, like, when we get straight and we get like financially stable and we have some extra like monthly income where I can just splurge, I'm going to buy an 06 Porsche 4S. I've been talking about this forever. I want an 06 911 4S. If I can get a Targa, I will, but it doesn't have to be a Targa. I'm settling for that with a 6-speed. And that will be my daily driver.
So nice.
I know. That's what I wanted. I just want the T-top. I have T-top withdrawal since I haven't had my Del Sol. So every time I like look at project cars, I'm like, ooh, can I get this in a T-top? Just because I want it. I miss it so bad.
Or a cabriolet.
Yes. That's the only reason I missed that Del Sol, because that car was an absolute piece of garbage. It leaked everywhere all the time. And it never started. It never started when I needed to start, ever. I hated that car. And it was an automatic. So I had an SI with an automatic. Terrible.
Oof.
Yeah.
They made those?
Yes, they made SIs with automatics in 93. Terrible option.
Terrible. It's terrible.
All right, guys, let's get into Track Daily Crush this week. So the first one, we got a 997 Porsche GT3. So one of the most recent ones. The Lotus Evora 400, and then a E46 BMW M3 CSL. Who wants to go first?
Nate, you can go first.
I'll take this one again. So we got I'll track the GT3. Probably get the most fun out of it then. For some reason daily driving cars, I wanted to be like the roughest possible for whatever reason. I definitely dailied the BMW, the E46. Those are great cars. They're just like the GTR, but probably a little bit less, definitely a little less power and stuff. That'd be a good daily.
You're gonna daily it even with that DSG?
Hey, I'd rather take that over the Lotus. And I definitely, yeah, I'll take. I had to kind of pick the lesser of evils on that one. I'm not a huge fan of Lotus. I never have been. They're not really my thing in my cars. They've never really been big to me. But I'd definitely rather track that Porsche. That was my solid choice there. That was my one. I was like, sure.
I mean, I don't blame you on the GT3. It's yeah.
Get that thing on the track would be great.
Yeah, that's my track choice for sure. Is the GT3. I don't know. I guess even like the current model GT3s and GT4s, they look like they're just meant to be nowhere else but the racetrack. Like you rolling down like the down Bell, and you're just like, that car doesn't belong here.
Right.
But you see it on the picture, you see it, yeah. But you see it on the racetrack, you're like, yep, that you look like you're at home right there. So yeah, definitely track that. I like Lotus. I've always had a weird like interest in Lotus because they're quirky. They're not anything anyone would expect, but in comparison to trying to daily against that M3, I think I'm picking the M3 just because of the fact that if I get rolled up on the highway trying to someone's trying to go at it, I feel like I'm gonna have a better chance than the M3.
Yeah, I know the M3 can take him.
Right, exactly.
The M3 can take him.
And if I lose, it's like, well, I'm still driving an M3.
And it's a CSL at that. It's like, yeah, I have one of
Right.
the rarest M3s on the planet. What you gonna do, bro?
Right. Exactly. So I'll daily the M3 and then crush the Lotus.
Well, I went a different route altogether. I'm crushing the M3, shockingly enough, and I'm going to track the Lotus and daily the GT3.
All right.
Yes, because yes, I'm dailying the GT3 with the cloth door handle and all, and the fact that I have to wear a harness to drive. Anyway, but reason being is, I guess y'all got to drive a Lotus. I'm gonna tell you something, bro. It's literally a grown-up go-kart. And
I've heard that. I've never driven one, but I've heard that.
Yeah, they're, put it this way, everybody in the late 80s and early 90s literally went to Lotus for suspension tuning in-house. So they were paying Lotus to come to their company and build their suspension systems. Isuzu did it, Chevrolet did it, Ford, I believe, did it. I mean, they literally just bought these people in to do their suspension alone. And they have a super long F1 history too. So it's just like tracking a Lotus is absolutely amazing, especially with that supercharged V6. I'm all for it, and it's mid-engined. You can't go wrong. So I'm tracking the Lotus. I'm crushing the BMW, even though it's got all the carbon fiber bits in the world and that cool fancy transmission and all that. And I'm dailying the GT3 because who doesn't want to hear a Porsche roar down the highway with that Flex 6?
That's fair. I'll give you that. That makes sense.
Let's see. Next one up this is all Honda. This is all because Nate is one of the biggest Honda guys we know. So this one is a EK Civic Type R, a 2000 Accord Type R, the Euro spec, and then a spoon-tuned CRX.
All right, so
spoon tune is more track tune, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Those yellow and blue guys. So I definitely track the CRX all day. It's the super light. That spoon tune will definitely just give it power all day. They're not the fastest things in the world, but as far as track wise goes, they're going to probably be the most fun out of this group.
Oh yeah.
I daily the Type R, the Euro R. I like Accords. I just don't like that model Accord. The body model of that Accord was a little more to be desired for on those. Granted, that power plant was pretty good.
Yeah. The
F20C. Yeah, the power plant on that thing is great. A little heavy, but
that generation Accord just looks like a stressed out Civic. I think is what it is. What does
yeah,
it almost has the same back end, just a different badge and it's slightly longer.
Yeah, I always question them when they come in to work. I'm like, is that a Civic? No.
Yeah. Especially when they're the coupes. When it's the Accord coupe versus like a 4-door Civic. Oh, it's so hard. Like they almost look like they're probably the same exact size. Like
But I would definitely daily that Type R. I would daily a Type R without air conditioning in Arizona summer because that's how cool of a car that is to daily. Because everyone's going to look at you. Everyone's going to know what it is because it's just legendary. I would track it maybe a little bit, but 100% daily that car all day. It'd be a dream drive. Whether you're in the summer, whether you're in the winter, it'd just be so cool. I sweat all day in it.
And that EK hatch is the B18C, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the B18C was in there when I was. They're just great cars. I mean, I don't know anybody who can't get in one of those cars, knowing what it is, or that's not even the fastest, to just not love it. How fun it drives.
Yeah.
So you had me on driving that Type R until you said it didn't have AC.
Wow. You didn't know it didn't have AC, bro?
No. Living in Phoenix, no, you can mess me with all that. I've driven in a car without AC.
I did it for 2 years. I'll still do it.
No thanks.
For that car.
I'll pass.
This is fair.
Especially with summer like this past summer.
I do
no
it.
thanks. Or
was this past summer was that bad?
This current summer, like it's still hot. Like I think tomorrow's the first day it dips below 89.
Yeah, y'all missed me with that. I left right in time.
Oh, you did, dude.
No, today was like 82.
Today was kind of fresh. Yeah, today was kind of fresh.
It's 52 degrees outside right now.
Nice.
Well, it's gonna get there tonight, I think. But no, yeah, dude, this summer was rough. It was because during monsoon season, it got humid but never rained. So it was like 115 with like 60-70% humidity some days, I think.
Ouch.
And I'm just like, what is this? This is not what I signed up for. It's supposed to be a dry heat.
Right. This is not Houston. Can I return this?
Right. So yeah. I'm probably tracking the CRX, the spoon tune CRX. And honestly, like I'm not, especially like older Hondas, I've never been a Honda guy. So like just going off of what I don't know, just what I kind of know, I'm probably AC or not. I'll probably at this point daily the Accord just because it's the Accord.
I have 4 doors. He's being an adult right now.
Yeah, this one I have no attachments to any of these cars, so I'm sorry.
So this was purely a motor choice for me, honestly. So I know the spoon tune CRX comes with V16A2 motor, so that's super cool. I chose that to track for sure. This was kind of hard between the EK and the Euro Accord, because the Euro Accord has had like a special place in my heart since I was a kid, playing Gran Turismo and stuff. So I'm like, which one do I want? But then I think about the power plant that's in the Accord, and I'm like, ooh, F20C. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going Accord for the daily, because it's still an Accord. I can still use it, but it can still go and rip the track up if I needed to. So that was my choice too. I mean, I'm not like Ventura where it was purely because it has AC. But
honestly, I care more about looking cool than functionality. So
right, no, I'm all for you, dude. Like, if I had no other choice, I'm gonna daily the EK with no shame at all, because it's right-hand drive. I'm all for it. Like red seats and all. Yes, I will daily that in Arizona heat.
Great.
All day long.
You can miss me with all that. Miss me with all that.
I'm sorry, we don't sweat as much as you, sir.
Right.
That's fair.
Last one, which is kind of a fun one. It's unusual swaps. So the reason why I started doing this Track Daily Crush when I was putting it together was because I was watching a video that had surfaced on the Forte pages that I'm on, and it was a new GT Forte against a last generation Eclipse, a 4G Eclipse, but it would look like the 4-cylinder one. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why are y'all showing this video? The Forte is going to smack it. Bro, they were at the tree. The tree it got lit. They left, and the Eclipse just like walked away. And I'm like, but that's the 4-cylinder model. And I'm like, even the V6 wouldn't pull that hard. And I'm like, what's going on? It was an LS swapped Eclipse.
Jeez. You can fit an LS in that?
It had an LS2 in it, yes. It had a 6-liter GM pushrod V8 with a turbo. And it had the stock Eclipse 4-cylinder wheels on it. So I was just like, bro, how much more could you troll? How much more could you troll that right there?
Was it the all-wheel drive or the front-wheel drive model?
Well, that Eclipse didn't have an all-wheel drive model, but they did a rear-wheel drive conversion because it was an LS2. So
okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, because of that, the choices we have this time are an LS swapped Chevy Cavalier, which we've decided is going to be the last generation Cavalier, a K24 swapped original Mini, so the little really tiny Mini, and a Coyote swapped Ford Probe.
All right, so I definitely, I wouldn't say definitely because it was kind of a choice between the Chevy and Ford, which I'd probably never make. So I'm really basing this around my for sure pick, which is dailying the K24 Mini, because think of pulling up anywhere into a parking lot and I would find a way to convert it to rear wheel drive, so I can just do crazy donuts in a parking lot in a freaking Mini, and just troll everybody pulling up too, because I'm smaller than them, and I can probably gap them too, because there's no there's nothing there. So I definitely daily the K24 Mini, no matter. I don't care about the AC. I don't care about suspension, braking back, all that good stuff. I track the Chevy on there just because that Cavalier. I like those Cavaliers. A friend of mine had one of those, so it was the boosted 4-cylinder one, which was great. So I throw an LS in there. I think it'd be even cooler. And then the Ford Probe, it's a Ford. It'd probably fall apart before I did anything with it.
I'm not gonna say anything,
bro,
but that's you're right, because it's an early 90s Ford. However, that is it's a Mazda, so it's really not gonna fall apart. That's the only fail safe.
What I mean fall apart, I mean the body panels, the
it's still a Mazda, so it's not gonna fall apart terribly.
The dashboard.
Bro, speaking of Fords falling apart, the other day I heard a noise in the drive-thru, and I couldn't tell if it was coming from my car or not, and I was freaking out. My sister was in the car, and I was pulling up to the speaker, and all of a sudden you just heard like a belt noise, just like a wow 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 wow, and it sounded like it was coming from behind me. So I was so confused, but I was like, "Is that me?" I turned around, I was like, "Is this my car?" No. This is BS. And there was like an older Ultima behind me. I was like, it better be that guy right there, or else I'm gonna be all the way upset. And it was after I had just done the donuts, so I thought I broke my car at the same time. Like, so I was like, no, this is no. And we kept pulling forward, and I kept like, it would stop as I got away from the guy, and then he got up behind me, and then it started like a couple minutes later again, and I'm just like, oh my god, is this me? Finally pulled away, never heard again. I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to put this in the shop. Yeah, so I was freaking out because yeah, it's a Ford.
Because it's a Ford. Dude.
No,
You had to
no matter
question
how
it.
new or old my car is,
fear
Gotta
that
question
you
it.
have a Ford.
yeah. I'll just yep. The day I have to put it in the shop, I'm not gonna be surprised and be like, well, we knew this day was coming sooner or later.
This day already comes. You gotta do it.
Right, I'm about to say,
Oh, yeah,
you
hey,
bought the
hey,
car and it's been
you
in the
already have to
shop
do this,
2
right?
weeks after you had it.
I should have been in the shop the day after I got it.
I mean, to be fair, I caught the noise when you bought it. However, bro, you had to put it in the shop immediately after you purchased the vehicle.
So.
Hey man, it is what it is. It was covered under warranty. I don't care.
For the next 10,000 miles.
I still got like a year. I got a year left. So I think I'm on the same boat with Nate. I would probably daily the Mini Cooper with the K24
really?
swap. Yeah, I know I'm too big of a guy to be.
Imagine Ventura in a Mini Cooper. What?
I think that'd be one to just like. It'd just be hilarious. Like I think that's all it is for me. Is just this big ass guy coming out of a Mini Cooper that's gonna put in work. Like that's just kind of where I took that. And honestly, it would probably be the more civil of the swaps as far as like actually being able to use it daily. You know what I mean? It's not as extreme of a swap, if you will. So I think that's part of the reason why I would daily it. And then I feel like both of these swaps are so absurd as far as putting a V8 into a front wheel drive sedan of sorts. So like they're both just really absurd. But I'm gonna be just strictly biased because it's what I have now. I'm gonna go with the Probe with the Coyote swap, and then we'll trash the LS because the LS gets swapped into everything too. That's another part of it. Like everything gets LS swapped, so it's just like, oh, cool, an LS swap Cavalier.
It's cheap, okay?
But like,
Excuse
I
me,
know,
you have
I'm not. I understand why.
15 grand.
I understand why, but it would be, I think, a little bit cooler to pull up on the drag strip with a Coyote Swap Pro versus a LS Swap Cavalier. You know?
This is true.
Yeah.
So I'll roll with that.
No, so I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. When I started working at AutoNation Ford, when I moved to Arizona the first time, there was my porter was 6'6" and drove a 1967 Morgan's Mini. He drove an imported Mini. Dude, watching this guy get in and out of this thing was hilarious. Just like I drove it, which was really cool. So I'm going with you guys on daily the K24 Mini because Minis are awesome. They're fun to drive, and it's just so crazy being that low to the ground and being that confined and being able to just kind of throw the car wherever you want to go. They're awesome. So there's that. I'm negating Nate's Ford falling apart thing because it's a Mazda. Just like I used to make fun of your Speed 3 for being a Ford, but it's a Mazda product. It's not going to terribly fall apart. I can't promise that it'll work all the time, but it's going to work the majority of the time. So I'm going Pro with the Coyote swap to track it, and I'm crushing the Cavalier because I hate the Cavaliers. Their interior is literally like disintegrate in the heat. So I'm good on that. So I'm definitely going Ford Probe with the Coyote swap, even though it's going to break my wallet if I actually ever did that. The guy who swapped the Coyote into my old SN95, he's like 30 grand deep.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of money. I'm like, he's 30 G's deep swapping that Coyote into my old SN95. When I was thinking about LS swapping it, getting an LS1 motor with the K-frame was going to be like $6 grand plus the harness. So I'm just like, this is why LS swaps are easy because they're cheap.
But how much cooler is it to pull up in a Coyote swapped
Ford Pro.
SN95?
Well, yeah. Well, let me rephrase that.
That's pretty cool.
I wanted to Coyote swap it, but I was gonna wait till we had like a warranty motor that nobody wanted, and do it that way because that's a lot cheaper than me having to buy one.
Fair enough.
And he'd even, I don't think his wasn't even a Mustang motor. It was a F-150 motor that had the Mustang intake that he swapped over.
Oh, nice.
And then he had to buy the Mustang heart. It was a long deal. And then you have to get a fly-by-wire gas pedal because the gas pedal in that SN95 is drive-by-wire. So, yeah, it's just, that's too much money, bro. I love it.
A lot of money put in to be putting in anything really, but
yeah, but I
it's
mean,
like, but really putting something that's S95, it's all plastic for the most part.
Yes, no, the thing sounds amazing though. I will tell you that it sounds absolutely gorgeous. So I in all respect, I don't care the fact that he spent that money. I haven't driven it. I want to drive it, but I got to ask permission.
Hopefully it rips.
I don't think it will from a dig because he left the stock T5 in it, so he can't really dig it. Okay. And he left the stock 273s Ventura. So it's got more power and it's got the power to get it there, but he's gonna roll gears until next week.
Yeah.
Remember doing 60 and third Ventura? Remember that? And it was still like barely above $2,000.
Yeah, that
you could literally forget to shift in that Mustang and it wouldn't even matter.
It wouldn't, not at all.
First gear will take you out of the 45, and you get a second gear. It's just that was a terrible gearbox. And then fifth with the crunch.
Dude, the fifth gear crunch every single time, no matter what. And then if it was cold enough, third would crunch too.
And then sometimes fifth would crunch so bad that it'd kick it back. And I had a metal shifter, bro. Oh,
Nate, you know those pens that shock you when you push them?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that on your whole hand when that kicked back. Like they just vibrated and kicked back so hard. Like there was one time I legit was like, what just happened? Like I was shaking my hand. It sucked. I've never experienced anything like that before. It was crazy. And I wasn't ready for it either. I didn't know that was a thing. It just happened. And then I told Isaiah, he was like, yeah,
it does that.
That's exactly what I did. It does that.
He needs to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Look, the car was $1,200. Was it? It was cheap. It was a cheap car.
A cheap car.
I went to go pick it up in the middle of the night in New Mexico. It had no tags, and I drove it from New Mexico to El Paso in the middle of the night with one headlight. Half of the dash didn't work at the time, and the heater nor the vents worked in that car either. So, and it leaked coolant when I got it. The headlights were broken. It was worth $1,200 because when I finally spent like a good $800 getting it back right, it was solid. And then I sold it.
Sounds like car guy stuff. No.
Well, I mean,
let's
backtrack. I'm upset because I had just put wheels and tires on it like a week before I sold it.
Wow.
Typical.
There you go.
Right, exactly. It's just like that meme that's circling right now where it says all car guys sell a car just to say that they missed that car for the rest of their life. Sad part is I have to see mine.
That's funny.
All right, guys. Well, that is the end of the podcast for this week. We are excited to keep this going. Keep liking and sharing.
This is pretty awesome.
It was awesome to have Nate on this week.
That was pretty good. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I'll be back.
Everyone who doesn't know, Nate also does his photography thing.
Yes.
The 2 rolling shots that were on my vlog from this past week, Nate took. He went the extra mile hanging out of our boys' S2K to get some of those shots. It was pretty gnarly to see, but Nate's pretty legit. So we'll find somewhere to shout out his pages. You can go take a look at that. And
please add me. Instagram, Trill_NRG. At my Instagram page. All my photography goes on there. So
but yes, guys, of course, keep liking and sharing. Keep us moving the better this. Well, the higher we go, the higher this, better this gets. Better our equipment and stuff gets too. So keep that in mind. So we will see you guys next week. Peace out.